In 2025, it's easy to compare today's mirrorless models with DSLRs and marvel at how far we've come. But today, we're taking a look back at a camera that was actually way ahead of its time, and the chances are you may well still be using this DSLR 8 years after its launch date, or you may never heard of it at all. This is the Pentax KP, and welcome to Adventures in Aperture. So if you have never heard of this camera, let me bring you up to speed. Launched in January 2017, the Pentax KP was one of the last APS-C sensor DSLRs that Pentax released. I say that with caution, as you never know, they could still bring out a new one, although that seems very unlikely. The only newer APS-C sensor Pentax is the K3 Mark III, but we'll talk about this more later. Built around a 24 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor, that resolution was decent for its time and enabled photographers to make prints in excess of A3 or crop into images without overly compromising image quality. The specification of the KP was impressive, boasting a big 3-inch LCD that did offer a tilting design but wasn't touch sensitive. A vast ISO range helped photographers shoot in low light conditions, and the optical viewfinder was bright and a pleasure to use. But the two main selling points for this camera were firstly the weather sealing. As you'd expect from Pentax, who never skimped on camera protection, the KP was solidly built and I had no worries about taking this camera out in all conditions. Secondly, however, was the presence of a 5-axis IBIS system, which was rarely seen on DSLRs and gave the KP an edge over its competition. The inbuilt image stabilization helped, especially during low light photography where the camera shake could creep in as shutter speeds fell. The clever features didn't end there though, and this next one is very Pentax, who designed the KP to have a removable rubberized grip so that you could take off with an Allen key if you didn't want it on the camera. It's user-friendly touches like the grip that makes me compare Pentax to early Apple devices. It's the feeling that what you're holding in your hands was designed for you by people like you who understand what it's like to go out for a day's photography. This extends to the usability of the camera with a huge amount of dials on offer for what is a fairly compact DSLR in terms of size. In fact, there's no less than 5 dials. One main mode dial, a function dial to activate options like HDR, burst mode and custom options, along with 3 adjustment dials. The dials are rubberized, making them easier to use, especially if you were to be out in the cold wearing gloves. A cleverly placed lever enables you to switch between stills, live view mode and movie mode, but fair warning, the video specifications are nothing to write home about and top out at full HD. This is not a camera for videographers. What it is though is a pretty cool all-rounder. The burst rate of 7 frames per second isn't fast, but it isn't slow either, and should be enough for most everyday action scenarios. There's a built-in flash, an often overlooked feature, but one that's often missing from DSLRs of this level. And there's an additional function button on the side of the camera along with an AF mode button and an AF mode lever, enabling you to switch between auto and manual focus. And another feature that needs to be put on record is the ISO range, which tops out at over 800,000, opening up creative options such as astrophotography. There's so much to love about this tough little camera, but there are a few negatives we should address too. First up, due to that small footprint, there's room for just a single SD card slot, meaning you can't make an instant backup of your images. Secondly, the autofocus does date the camera. 27 AF points is not a great amount, and although you'll be absolutely fine for landscapes and in good light, the AF could use improvement. Another thing to consider, because the KP is so much smaller and lighter than cameras like the beefy full-frame K1, the balance of the camera can feel a little off when you're using Pentax's larger, heavier telezooms, although this is not a problem for standard zooms or Pentax's brilliant prime optics. But what really counts is how the photos look, and this is where the really good news arrives. The colour science is typically Pentax, with rich, warm imagery and that beautiful Pentax look to the frames. A decent amount of information can be recovered from the KP's RAW files so that skies can be recovered or shadows revealed. In fact, let's take a look at some test imagery now. So the Pentax KP is somewhat of a paradox. At around 700 grams, it certainly wasn't the lightest option you could buy, and it also wasn't the highest resolution option on the market either. Rivals at the time were the Canon 80D and soon after the 90D, along with the Nikon D7500. But the KP's combination of steady specifications paired with standout functions such as that ultra-high ISO, the removable grip and that IBIS system combined with the usability to create a special kind of magic. Like the full-frame K1, this camera developed a legion of loyal users who appreciated everything the KP delivered, and I would wager that many stayed with this camera even when the higher specification Pentax K3 Mark III hit the shelves. What I would love to see is Pentax take the thinking and creativity that went into making the KP and deliver a 2025 version. I'm not talking about a mirrorless camera, I'm talking about a DSLR camera that would put the cat amongst the pigeons using all the technology available to Pentax's R&D engineers right now. Unfortunately though, I'm not sure this will happen, but there you go. Anyway, what do you think about the Pentax KP? Was it a camera way ahead of its time, or did it fall short in your opinion? Do you still own a KP? Let me know in the comments section, and please remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.